Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshunamilitan Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaye Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Namaha Yam Pravajantam Anupeta Apeta Krityam Rapayano Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putreti Tan Mayataya Taravo Binedus Tam Sarvabhutam Hridayam Munimanatasme Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatam Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat Bhaktya Vihina Padara Lakshay Kiptashta Kamari Tarangamadye Kripa Maitram Sharanam Prapanna Vrinde Namaste Charanara Vindam Tave Vasmi Najivami Tvayavina Iti Vigyaya Radhe Tvam Nayanam Charanandike Pancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So, continue hearing the glories of Sri Harinam from the book Sri Harinama Mahamantra. And yesterday we read from this chapter called The Glories of Sri Harinam, which many very important quotes. And we will offer our most humble obeisance unto the lotus feet of our beloved Gurus, unto Shri Nityalila Pavishta Om Vishnu Pada Stotar Sat Sri Srimad Abhaya Charnaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and unto Shri Nityalila Pavishta Om Vishnu Pad Asto Tarsat Sri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, unto our exalted Rupanu Guru Varga, all the assembled Vaishnavas, Vaishnavis. Okay, so yesterday we read a number of quotes. We didn't finish this particular chapter, but I'm going to read them again, the few that we did, and hopefully this time it'll save. Didn't save yesterday. And it doesn't hurt to hear these again. I remember back in the day when we didn't have very many books, we would listen to tapes of Srila Prabhupada, and he would always quote, a lot of Bhagavad Gita especially. And that's how we learned. Just by hearing the shlokas on the tapes over and over, we actually learned them. For me, even now, if I listen to a lecture and hear the quote, hear the shloka, I can remember it easier than if I'm reading it, it works better for me. I mean, reading as a reference, but hearing it works better for me. I don't know. Anyway, so, Nam Sarup. Remember this verse from yesterday? Nama Chintamani Krishna Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Purna Shuddha Nitya Mukto Bina Devan Nama Namino. Because there is no difference between Nam, Krishna's name, and Nami, Krishna, the possessor of the name. Sri Krishna Nam is therefore Chintamani Sarup, right? The original wish-fulfilling gem, and is Krishna himself, who is Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha, the fully conscious form of rasa. Sri Nam is complete, beyond Maya, and eternally liberated. Right, Nama Chintamani Krishna. And actually, there are different kinds of Chintamani gems, and Chintamani gems, they're not available so much in the Kali Yuga, and there's a good reason for that. There's a story of a king, and he was out hunting, and he got separated from his party, right? And he's lost in the forest, and evening was coming, and he was very hungry and, worried. And, He used to sleeping in the palace on his bed and getting good meals and all that. Anyway, he stumbled upon a Chintamani gem. And he wasn't sure what it was. It was a beautiful jewel. While he's holding it, he thought, oh, this beautiful jewel, but now it's getting late. I have nothing to eat. I wish I had a big full course meal. And all of a sudden, a gigantic thali with all his favorite dishes was there in front of him. And he thought, oh, how marvelous, And he was eating and eating, and he said, oh, now, though, that I've eaten, now I'm tired, I want to rest. Oh, if only I had my bed from the palace. And all of a sudden, big, beautiful king bed was there for him, right? And then he's lying down on the bed, and he thought, oh, but I'm in the forest at night. What if a tiger comes to eat me? And then all of a sudden, roar. He hears the roar of the tiger, and there it comes and it eats him. So we don't have the controlled mind. That's also why probably in the Kali Yuga we don't have mystic powers, the capacity to curse people and do things. I mean, some people have it to some extent, but you have to go through a big, big ritual to do it. And even then, because we would misuse it so much. Anger, misused, right? How many times do we say things in anger? And if these things came true, kids telling their parents, I hate you, I wish you were dead, what would you do then? So the name of Krishna is Chintamani. And actually, it can bestow, obviously, all spiritual benefit, but it also can bestow material benefit. If that's one of the byproducts and the dangers of Namaparad, actually. Namaparad can give, and Namabhas can give the lower benefits as well. You just chant, and if you're thinking for material things, then that's what Nam will give you. You won't get the real fruit, which is why we have to study the 10 offenses and chant Nam for the proper reasons. Right? And then what is it? Nam in its true form. Chaitanya, Rasa Vigraha. Chaitanya means non-different from Krishna, fully conscious, the embodiment, the very form of Rasa, which is Krishna, Rasa Vaisaha, Purna, complete, Shuddho, completely pure, Nitya Mukto, never touched by the material modes, always eternally liberated, non-different. Krishna and his name are one and the same. So when we study and contemplate a verse like this, which is from the Sri Bhakti-rasamrita Sindhu, Eastern Division, second wave, 108th verse, we can pray to take the name in the proper way. If Krishna appeared before you right now, what would you do? You might do like that lady, poor old lady, village lady who was, going out every day gathering wood. When you go to India, you see this when you're out outside the city. The village ladies are out there gathering scraps of wood, and they get these giant bundles, and they put them on their head, and they carry them back to the house. They're doing that every day, every few days. Even in old age, this poor old lady. And one day she had her sticks, and it was a really hot day. And she got so weak by the heat and the load, she just fell over and dropped the load. And she began to weep and call out, oh, Vishnu, Vishnu. And she called with such feeling, weeping, that the Lord appeared. What do you want? You called me. Oh, my Lord, please help me. Yes, I'm here. Can you put this bundle of sticks back on my head so that I can take them back to my house? And he did. And then he left. And we also do that. We pray for such meager things, right? Such meager things. But that story of Sanatana Goswami, he was renowned in Vrindavan as a great sadhu. And in India, sadhus are generally prayed to for the wrong reasons. Oh, give me this, give me that, give me this blessing, give me that blessing. And one poor Brahmin had to get his daughter married, but he had no money. If you don't have money for a dowry, then people are very reluctant to marry their qualified son. So no one would take his daughter, even though she was the daughter of a Brahmana. So he went, and they said, oh, go to Sanatana Goswami. He can solve all your problems. So how is that? Well, it's said that he has this Chintamani stone, that it can reward all benefits, give you anything you want. Turn metal into gold. And the Brahmin said, really? So he went, and Sanatana Goswami was living very simply near the Jamuna, right? With nothing, just his cloth and a little piece over for like a half a chadar, and not even any pots or pans, nothing. And the man begged for him. He said, oh, I've come to you. I've heard you have a Chintamani stone. I have such a problem. My daughter needs to get married. I don't have any money, but if I have that stone, I can bless her and get wealth. And so Sanatana Goswami, oh, Chintamani stone. I don't know. They said you have it. Wait, let me think. Oh, yeah. Yeah, look in that rubbish pile over there. And the man looked, and he dug up, and underneath was this beautiful stone. And he said, oh, there it is. Yeah, you can have it. And the man went away very happy. Oh, I'm so happy. Beautiful. Vaidurya, multicolored, kind of like a magnificent glowing, kind of like an opal, but even more beautiful. So after a while, he began to think, Sanatana Goswami, he so easily gave this to me, like it was nothing. I wonder, has he cheated me? He must have something even more valuable if he just gave me this without thinking about it. He kept it in a rubbish heap. So he turned around, he went back, and he said, I think you have something more valuable than this stone. And he says, I do. I want that. Well, you can't have that as long as you have the stone. This stone will prevent you from getting the benefit of what I have. If you want my greatest gift, you have to take that stone and throw it in the river, in the Jamuna. Could you do that? You've got that. It can give you everything you want in this world. Could you do it? I remember being in Oregon. We went down to Roseburg to the house of my godbrother and godsister, Prabhanu and Panchajani. Nice couple. And Bodhayan Maharaj was there, and he was speaking. And then he asked the audience, he said, now tell me honestly, would you rather be able to chant Shuddhanam right now or have any $100,000, $1 million, whatever, And he asked their daughter, nice girl, and she thought about it, and she said, honestly, at this point, I'd probably take the money. She was being honest, right? Because the idea of pure name, it's intangible to one who hasn't studied and gone deeply into Vaishnava philosophy, the idea of chanting the pure name, and those fruits beyond this world, beyond our experience, hard to grasp. How the Goswamis could live under a tree every night, devoid of anything, not accepting anything material at all for themselves. What were they getting by this chanting? Very hard for us to contemplate and understand. But Nama Chintamani Krishna, it is a Chintamani, but don't go for the lesser things that it can provide. Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha, the very form of sweet transcendental ras, Purna, complete in every way, Shuddho, absolutely pure, eternally liberated, Nitya Mukto, Binadva Namanamino. The name is Krishna. It is Krishna. And this should be our meditation, Nam Swarup. And then Nam bestows all perfection in Kali Yuga. This is a very nice verse also. Kaler dosha nidhe rajan asti he kumad guna kirtanadeva krishnasya mukta sangha param vajet. This is from 12th canto, 3rd chapter, Srimad Bhagavatam. My dear king, Although Kali Yuga is an ocean of faults, Kaler dosha, right? Faults, nidhe, rajan. There's still one good quality in this age. Simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, one can become free from material bondage and achieve the shelter of Bhagavan. You take that into your heart, no matter what problems you have, because you can't avoid problems in this age. This Kali Yuga is replete with problems. Everywhere you turn, there's problems. I mean, living here, obvious, middle of winter. Oh, the pump went out. There's no water. What are we going to do? We got to dig a hole and find out the problem. And in the meantime, jury rig something up with a generator, and there's no heat. We're out of wood. The roof is leaking. There's always problems, right? The car broke down. I don't have any good boots. My feet are getting soaked. I don't have cleats on my boots. I'm slipping all over the ice. No matter what adjustments you make, there's always another problem waiting to get you, right? But the Mahamantra is always there. And you can't change the fact that this is an age of distress and fault, but you can rise above it, right? By chanting this beautiful holy name and be at one with Radha and Krishna. That's what we heard in these commentaries. The Mahamantra unites us, makes us one with Radha and Krishna in their service. And then the next verse from the Bhagavatam in that same section, Krite yad jayate vishnum, tretayam yajato makai, dvapare parichayayam, kalo tad dari kirtana. The result which is attained in Satya Yuga by meditating on Sri Bhagavan, dhyana, right, which is mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, 6th chapter, right? In Treta Yuga by performing opulent yajna, and in Dwapara Yuga by performing archan, is easily available in Kali Yuga by performing Harinam Kirtan. Just do Harinam Kirtan, then all the results of these incredibly costly, involved, and difficult processes very easily attained. The demigods who have access to everything they would want, they can do all of these processes. They're lining up to take birth in the Kali Yuga to practice this. Then Mahaprabhu, Chaitanya Charitamrita, 17th chapter of Adi Lila. Kali, Namarupe, Krishna Avatar, Namahoite Hoya Sarva Jagat Nishtara. In Kali Yuga, the avatar of Sri Krishna comes in the form of his name. Simply by chanting this name, the entire world can be delivered. Mahaprabhu told this to his mother, Shachi, when she was lamenting his separation, that he was going to be gone. Mother, I am here in my name. I am here in the deity. I am never separated. If you want me, just call my name. I am here. And then in 7th chapter of Adi Lila, Nama Vina Kali Kale Nahi Aradharma Sarva Mantra Saranama E Shastra Marma. In Kali Yuga, there is no other sadhan but to chant Harinam. It is the essence of all Vedic mantras. This is the essential teaching of all Shastras on Nam Tattva. And that's also meant to say that there's nothing else needed. Sometimes people in the early stages, they try to take shelter of other things that they think will assist them in their bhakti. Like in South America and Brazil and places, they like to use different medicines used by indigenous shamans to drink and excite different kinds of visions, meditation. Actually, it allows them to experience existence on the subtle plane. They can leave their gross body and do various things on the subtle platform in the mind. Even take different forms, travel here and there. And because you're disassociating from the body, for them, when they come back, they think, oh, I really am not this body. I traveled out of the body. I'm doing all these things. And they think that that will actually help them, but it didn't free them from the subtle body, which is the agent which carries them to gross body to gross body. And it is the root cause of the conditioning, because the subtle body is the false ego, which creates the impression that we are enjoying the objects of this world. And it's also the mind and the intelligence. Oh, I like this, I don't like that. Well, then do this and do that so you can get what you like. And, it actually can reinforce your conditioning in even a stronger way. And so, no, very, very inappropriate. And people do that, and they do different kinds of yoga that they think, yoga, if you do it to stay healthy, that's okay. People exercise, people walk. But as a form of transcendence, no, doesn't work in this age. It's required that the real yogis, they would sit for thousands of years in different postures to manipulate the life airs, to put them totally under control so that they would completely block out all connection with the external world through the senses, so that they could just focus within and try to discover the self and the Paramatma within, right? But people can't do that in this age. And even if you did, why do you want to meditate on Paramatma, right? That's a very inferior form of meditation. It doesn't invoke bhakti. It promotes awe and reverence and joy in perceiving that form. This is what Gopakumar discovered when he went to Tapalok and Janalok, but it doesn't create the satisfaction of a service relationship, of a loving relationship, right? So, the glories of the holy name described by ancient acharyas. Here's a quote from Srila Sridhar Swami. All glory to Harinam, which is auspicious for the entire world. Just as the rising sun dissipates all darkness, if Harinam arises just once, it can destroy all of a person's sins. Just once means if that pure name is chanted even a single time, all the sins which create so many obstacles are gone, right? In fact, in the 6th canto, the story in the 1st and 2nd chapters about Ajamil, the Vishnu Dutas describe that even Namabhas destroys all sin and can make one eligible for liberation. Even Namabhas. But we don't want liberation, we want bhakti. That's why Krishna gives us material bodies, so that we can perfect our bhakti. And then another verse. The minds of those who are gunatita, beyond the 3 modes, are attracted to Nam. Nam eradicates all sins. Right? Are we attracted to Nam? Sometimes we are. Sometimes the mind and the body overcomes us and distracts us, and we are not attracted to Nam. We're in that stage of sadhana where we're battling, right? So that's when we have to really take shelter. Nam eradicates all sins. Sri Krishna, Nam Sarup, in other words, Krishna in the form of the name, is easily accessible to those who are lower than Chandalas, and also captivates the opulence of mukti. It awards results even by its initial contact with the tongue. It does not consider whether or not a person has taken diksha, or performed pious activity, or taken vows of austerity. Sri Nam is so merciful in this age. Okay, so we read those yesterday. We talked about them a little bit more, but now the glories of chanting Sri Nam exceed the glories of direct Brahm realization. A number of chapters in the Jaiva Dharma distinguishing between the quality of Brahm realization and the quality of the experience of prema bhakti. And for those who are not educated in genuine Vaishnava philosophy, the allure of Brahm is very powerful. unless and until you've been educated to understand the nature of the spiritual realm, the true nature of the self, that its full fulfillment comes in recognizing its individual identity and that relationship with God. Brahm means to merge into the effulgence of God, right? And they think that, and those who aspire for that think that that's the highest goal. And that is the perfection of happiness. Complete freedom from all the miseries, distress of this material world. And the description of that stage, that pleasure exceeds anything in the material world by magnitudes. But it's still just a drop compared to, drop of water compared to the ocean of happiness in Prema Bhakti. So, Rupa Goswami writes Sri Krishna Namastakam, and he says, Yad Brahma Sakshat Kriti Nastayapi Vinasam Ayati Vina Nabogai Apaiti Namas Purananena Tate Prarabdha Karmeti Varoti Veda. O Nam, the Vedas loudly declare that a bhakta's fructified sinful reaction, prarabdha karma, which cannot be eliminated even by resolute meditation on impersonal Brahm, is at once mitigated by your appearance on the tongue, even without his undergoing any suffering. So everything is there in Nam. Hear these, and at this point, what we can do is we can pray that this determination and realization, the strength of this tattva enter our heart, strengthen our faith, and strengthen our resolve to chant Sri Nam, with love, with, urgency, with greed, The superiority of Sri Nam Kirtan from Hari Bhakti Vilas. Agachit smaranam Vishnur Bhavyasena sadyate ushta spandhanamatrena kirtanas tutatovaram. Although Sri Vishnu Smaranam destroys all sins, it can only be fully realized after a person has endeavored with great difficulty over a long period of time. Vishnu Kirtan, however, is superior because when Sri Krishna Nam merely vibrates upon a person's lips, that's even Namabhas, he becomes liberated from bondage to the cycle of samsara. Vishnu Smaranam is an elevated state. So we're not qualified, for instance, to go to sit in quiet meditation and meditate on the pastimes of Krishna. Right? But we are qualified to chant the name of God, because right now, until we're purified, while we're not qualified, until we're purified, that image, that so-called remembrance, is a creation of the mind. And it's not the pure pastimes of Krishna. It's our material conception of those pastimes. And so to meditate upon them prematurely, internally, actually, it can create the opposite result. For instance, to meditate, and this is stated over and over, to meditate on Krishna's confidential Leela with the gopis, if you're not purified and have not entered into that stage of bhav, your attempt to artificially create that in the mind actually creates a material conception of lovers. Krishna as a boy and the gopis as girls, and it will agitate the mind and the senses. The only way that we can properly meditate on these pastimes is in connection with kirtan, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam descriptions, hearing the statements of our acharyas, and meditating upon them as we hear them. But to try to internally go and create a memory yourself, no, you can't do that. Can't do that yet. We do meditate, but we meditate on what we read, and we meditate as we've heard it exactly, right? So, but chanting Krishna Nam, and then while chanting, trying to remember what we've read, then that's favorable. That's favorable. So, the superiority of Sri Nam Kirtan compared to dhyana and puja. Oh, this is from the very beginning of the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, first chapter of the first part, 9th verse. Jayati Jayati Namananda Rupa Murarer Viramita Nijadharma Jnana Pujari Yatnam Katam Mapi Sukridatam Muktidam Praninam Jat Paramamritam Ekam Jivanam Bhushanam Me. Sanatana Goswami says, all glories to Sri Krishna Murari's name, the embodiment of divine bliss. It halts the cycle of birth and death and relieves one of all painful endeavors in practicing religion, meditation, charity, deity worship, and austerity. It awards liberation to one who utters it even once. Krishna Nam stands alone as the supreme nectar and sole treasure of my life. In other words, it frees one completely, even from the duties of varnashram and the goals that one is seeking in these lesser stages. No need for any of that. No need for gradual progression. Just chant pure name. And from Hari Bhakti Vilas, Yena Janma Shatai Purvam Vasudeva Samarchita Tanmukhe Harinamani Sada Tishtanti Bharata. O great descendant of Bharat, the name of Sri Hari will remain eternally on the lips of those who have already performed Archana of Vasudeva for hundreds of births. Another statement is that anyone who has taken up chanting of the holy name, it's understood, no matter what their condition in this life, they have done heaps and heaps of proper, pious Vedic activity and study in previous lives. And that all of that has come to fruition now with their faith in the holy name. Right? Now, but aren't there rules and regulations that you've got to do? Sri Nam is not governed by rules regarding time, place, or circumstance. Hari Bhakti Vilas says, Na desha niyamo rajan, na kala niyamastata, vidyate natra sandeho, vishnur namanu kirtane, kalo sti dana yagye cha, stane kalo sti saj jape, Vishnu sankirtane kalo, nyastyatra pritivitale. O King, it is stated unequivocally that time and place are not considered in the performance of kirtan of Sri Vishnu's names. Such rules apply in giving in charity, performing yajna, and chanting other types of japa. On this earth planet, however, such considerations do not apply in the performance of Sankirtan of Sri Vishnu's names. Anytime, any place. In fact, Kirtaniya Sadahari, all the time, all places, right? And then, another quote from Hari Bhakti Vilas from the Vishnu Dharmottara, Na desha niyamastasmin, na kala niyamastata, no chistado nishedosti, Sri Hari namni lubdaka. O hunter, in the performance of Sri Hari's Nam Kirtan, there is no consideration of time and place, nor is there any prohibition with respect to being in an unclean state due to eating, passing stool, etc. So whereas you chant your Anik, Gayatri, or other prayers in deity worship, you definitely have to become clean and properly situated. But in Nam, Hare Krishna mantra, anytime, any place. And then, another verse in the same vein, Madhura Madhura Metan Mangalam Mangalanam, Sakala Nigamavali Satpalam Chit Sarupam, Thakirdapi Parigitam Shraddhaya Helayava, Brigu Varanaramatram Tarayat Krishnanama. This is from the Skanda Purana. Sri Krishna Nam is the sweetest of the sweet and the most auspicious of all that is auspicious. Madhura Madhuram Etan Mangalam Mangalanam. Contemplate that. This is meant to give us faith, but also joy and confidence in our chanting. It's the sweetest of the sweet and the most auspicious of all that is auspicious. When you're chanting Hare Krishna, you ever think like that? Oh, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare. Oh, it's the sweetest of the sweet. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. It's all auspicious, the most auspicious thing. If we could chant that with, faith and confidence and joy, Madhura Madhuram Etam Mangalam Mangalanam, the sweetest of the sweet and the most auspicious of all that is auspicious. It is the flourishing creeper, the eternal ripened fruit of the Bhagavat, right? Remember that? It says Sakala Nigama Vali, Sat Palam Chit Sarupam, right? What is that? Bhagavatam, Nigama. Oh, come on. It'll come to me in a second. Second verse. It is a flourishing creeper, the eternally ripened fruit of the Bhagavat, and the embodiment of knowledge, Chit Shakti. O best of the Brigu dynasty. Even if someone chants the holy name only once, with faith or indifference, he is immediately delivered from the ocean of birth and death. Oh, what is it? Nigama kalpatodor galitam palam, shukamukad amrita drava samyaktam, pibata bhagavatam rasamalayam, muhuraho rasika bhuvi bhavukaha. Nigama kalpatodor galitam palam. It is the very essence and the sweetest fruit from the tree of the Vedic literature, right? And because it was first tasted by Shukadev Goswami, this is a mystery. We never know anything about this in the West. But somehow or other, if a mango is on a tree and a special parrot comes and touches it with his beak to taste it, it becomes even riper. I don't know how. It's some mystic thing. Have you ever seen that? No. You've heard of it. But anyway, the Bhagavatam was composed by Vedavyas in his meditation, in his maturity. It was complete in every way. But Vedavyas, he's Vishnu Tattva. Sometimes he's a liberated soul who is empowered, like Shakti Avesh. But this Vedavyas was Vishnu Tattva. And so he could witness and record perfectly everything that was going on, but his own experience was from the perspective of Vishnu, the Lord. So how could he taste and understand the moods of the devotees? He can't. That's why Krishna came as Mahaprabhu. But he spoke it to Shuka, his son, who could taste and experience it from that perspective because he is the Shuk of Srimati Radhika, her parrot, intimate parrot, knowing all these things. So when he spoke it, even Vedavyas and Narad, the guru of Vedavyas, were in the audience. This is Jiva Goswami, I think it's Bhakti Sandarbha, that it says this, that it was, or Tattva Sandarbha, any one of those. It was as if they had heard the Bhagavatam for the first time, because they could experience, he was relishing it in a certain way, and when you hear from someone who is tasting, then that comes into your heart as well, according to your qualification. So, this Harinam is the sweetest of the sweet, and the most auspicious of all that is auspicious. It is the flourishing creeper, the eternal, fully ripened fruit of the Bhagavat, and the embodiment of knowledge, Chit Shakti. So everything that's in the Bhagavatam, all those 12 cantos, and what to speak of that, that's the ripened fruit of all the other Puranic literature. All of that is in that beautiful holy name. Oh, best of the Brigu dynasty, even if someone chants the holy name only once, with faith or indifference, is immediately delivered from the ocean of birth and death. And so, who can chant this? Well, Sri Nam Sankirtan is the sadhan and sadhya for everyone. And this is a really important verse. This is second canto, first chapter, 11th verse. Etan nirvidyamananam ichatam akuto bhayam yoginam nirpanirnitam arer nam namo kirtanam. O king, previous acharyas have declared the following to be siddhanta. Chanting and remembering the name of Sri Hari again and again is the primary sadhana and sadhya for those persons who are indifferent to sense pleasure, for the exclusively dedicated bhaktas, for those who desire liberation, promotion to heaven, etc., and for the self-satisfied yogis. Beautiful verse. Even for people who don't seek, right? Who don't, like the persons who are indifferent to sense pleasure, exclusively dedicated bhaktas. Okay, we can understand them, chanting and remembering, but even for those who want impersonal liberation, or even they want promotion to heavenly planets, even for yogis who are self-satisfied, who don't want anything, this Harinam is the greatest gift for all. There's another verse. Akama sarva kama va moksha kama udadadi tivrena bhakti jogena yajeta purusham param. So no matter what you want, if you have akama, no material desires, sarva kama, or you have all material desires, moksha kama, maybe you want impersonal liberation, udadadi, but if you have, great intelligence, tivrena bhakti yogena, right? Practice bhakti, which means this hearing and chanting, and everything. Your reward far exceeds any of these paltry goals that you might be seeking, right? Like the man with the chintamani, right? Throw it away. I don't know if I could do that, but I could do so much service if I had this chintamani, right? I could fix up the ashram, all the buildings. We could, do all these great things here, But if I just chant Harinam, it might take lifetimes to do this. We need to preach now. I'm going to keep this Vaidurya stone for Krishna. No. No, can't do it. All right, so that's the end of that section. All right, so we will stop here. We turn this off. Let's see if it saves. Has it been saving for days?